The Enchanted RPG is a game you can play over many sessions. In theory, you can play it forever and ever, but when you play a game that takes that long, you need some kind of progression system to keep things moving, to keep things fresh. So today we're talking about how we handle that. By the way, I'm Will from Enchanted ESL, and I've designed the Enchanted RPG for use in English classes specifically. If you're not up to speed about what this game is, how to play, and about the setting and that kind of thing, then I really recommend you go and check out the playlist of all the videos I've made so far. I'll put it up there and down in the description. In most tabletop role-playing games, with Dungeons & Dragons being the most famous example, you do things, you achieve things, you get experience points, and as a reward, you get upgrades, better abilities, or different skills that you can do. So maybe your strength goes up, or your intelligence, or you get a new ability that allows you to do something you couldn't even imagine doing before. This progression reflects the journey that the characters go on, keep the game fresh, and give the players some new toys to play with. But those games almost always do that on an individual level. Each player gets their own character progression. And that's fine in most cases, but in the Enchanted RPG there's a big focus on teamwork. So in this game everybody progresses together, there's a shared advancement. And there are two main reasons for this. First, it's equal and fair, so nobody feels like they've missed out or drawn the short straw with a rubbish ability upgrade. And the second is it promotes team unity. Everybody contributes to the shared advancement and they all reap its rewards. Teamwork has been a design principle from the very beginning, so it makes sense to include it in my progression system. And it's all tied to inspiration points, which if you remember, players get them when they roll a 6 on their dice. They get a little token or mark it on their character sheet, and then later they can spend it to help another player. They give them a re-roll. If they rolled badly and they didn't get the result they want, they can do it again. The idea is that they rescue their teammates from complete failure or spur them on to success, and there's a narrative element to that, driving the story forward and bringing the players closer together. And every time somebody spends an inspiration point, it goes toward the shared progression. The way I've been doing it is with little plastic tokens. So when they roll a 6, they get the token. When they spend it, it goes into a pile that I keep until the end of the session. And at the end, I count them all up and add that number to the progression chart, which is here. Now, before explaining any of this, please be aware that it is a prototype, it's a simple test version, and it will undoubtedly change in the future. It's also specifically for 3 to 6 players. With a pair or an individual, the route will probably be shorter because they have fewer opportunities to spend inspiration points. So we count the inspiration points, and for each one of them we mark off one of these circles on the chart. So we start here and go all the way around the chart to the end. And I've been seeing on average about 5 points per hour long session. You'd be surprised how effective just marking off the circles in this way can be. I actually use it in my vocabulary game, which is basically just drilling vocabulary but creating motivation by colouring in circles and visualising the progress. And just being able to see that advancement is super powerful in itself. But we're going to add something extra, which is having milestones at certain points along the progression. Each milestone gives a benefit to the team, and there are a few different types of benefits. The first being a team perk. This is an ability that the team can do together, and there are 4 of them to unlock. The first is called Don't Hurt My Friend. And this means that when a player takes a stress point, then another player can step in and take that stress point instead. They take a hit to spare their friend. And as always, they have to narratively say how they do this. And this is fantastic for roleplay because they can jump in front of a bullet, figuratively most of the time, but maybe literally. It creates a sacrifice, and of course that brings the group even tighter together, which is what we want to reflect in this progression. The group getting better, not just the individuals. Plus, from a game point of view, it can help distribute the stress points more evenly. So if there's a player who has 2 stress points, then they're only 1 away from being stressed out, and that's really bad for them. They're kind of out of the game for the short term. So if they end up taking another stress point, a different player can step in and save them somehow, and that player maybe doesn't have any stress points at all, so them taking that one doesn't affect them too much. It's dispersed throughout the group. I've seen this work pretty well in action myself, and it means players are more willing to take a few more risks. There are 3 other team perks which are also very helpful, and if you download the chart, which I've put in the description, you can read them all through yourself. Another type of benefit is a skill upgrade, and there are 2 of these on the progression. It's very simple, you just get to add 2 skill points to your character sheet in the way that you want. And that reflects that their characters are getting better at things. It means they can plug any skill gaps. Maybe they realise that nobody chose any skill points for compute and they've been working a lot with computers recently, so they need somebody to get better at that. Or it allows them to really specialise in something that makes their character unique. But of course there's still the limit of 3 points per skill, and with only 2 skill upgrades they're still going to have their strengths and weaknesses that make their characters different. The final benefit only appears once, right in the middle of the progression, and it's an upgrade to the iconic item. This is mostly just for fun and for flavour, but it can add some functionality and make your players a little bit more powerful. For example, let's say a player's iconic item was their pair of running shoes. Well, now they've got a brand spanking new pair with extra grip, so they're super fast on hard surfaces. Most of the time this is just going to be cosmetic, they've got some cool new shoes, but if they find themselves sprinting down a road, then you could add 2 extra dice as a bonus instead of the normal 1 that they would get from their previous running shoes. Alright, this progression chart is good for about 15 to 20 sessions. After that time they'll probably have reached the end. And that's when you should probably start thinking about wrapping up the overall story. Maybe there's a big endgame mystery, they have to have a showdown with the big bad boss, or whatever it is, your characters will come to the end of their story arc. Of course, that doesn't mean you have to stop playing the game completely, but your players might want to create new characters and have a new group with their own story. And a lot of the time students enjoy that change. They like seeing their character progress and telling a story with them, but at a point they'll probably get a bit like, I want to try something new. Alternatively, if you want to stretch out the game for more sessions, then you can put a limit on how many inspiration points can contribute to the progression for each session. For example, you could set this limit at 3. So no matter how many inspiration points they spend, 5, 6, 10, whatever, they only get 3 to the progression chart. And that means you'll have an absolute minimum of 24 sessions. And for a really long campaign, you could set that limit at 2 or even 1 per session. But if you are going to do that, make sure your players have some other ways of seeing advancement in their character. Maybe some mini team perks, or like they make lots of friends and contacts that they can call on, or extra items that they find. Otherwise, the progression might be a bit too slow and they never see their characters advance. And like I said, this progress chart is subject to change. I will be tweaking it, adjusting it. Maybe I'll just tear it up and create a new one, depending on how playtesting goes. And I'm well on the way with playtesting, and you can get involved too. If you download the chart, you can use it with your players, and then tell me in the comments how it went. And make sure to subscribe for more developments in the game. Like the next video which is coming out, which will be an update on playtesting and feedback on how things have been going in the first few mysteries. When that video is ready, I'll put it right here, but if it's not ready quite yet, then there'll be another really helpful video. But for now, I've been Will from Enchanted ESL, wishing you all the joy and success in your teaching. See ya!